Vibes that nice and we gather round. Tonight the old town now a playground. We're raving mad to the soca sound. We're raving. Jump up with the morning sun. We're raving, Sega sound. We're raving. Jump up with the morning sun. We're raving, we're saving. Every beat till the night done come. Flags in the air, hands up high. As we touch the sky, the music hits you can't deny. Tonight we live to we shine. Yeah, they still on the best of times. Got it, we children all night. Put us stay, we got we might. We show the world we light up. Echo. Welcome, everybody, today. This is Echo. I am Kimberly, otherwise known as that Black Crypto Chick on social media. And this is my lovely co-host, Rashona, otherwise known as RB Rising. Ooh. Is your vocal? Did you say something? Because I couldn't hear you.
No, I didn't
Okay,
say
just want to
anything.
make sure nothing, because we were having issues this morning. And then we have the lovely Miss Melanie, okay, in the house. And she's going to share all sorts of wonderfulness with us today on Echo, where we echo the sounds and voices of women in technology, tech, blockchain, and all sorts of other interesting areas that we like to get into. So I'm going to send it over to my lovely host, Miss Rashona Bennett, who is glowing this morning.
Yes, I am glowing, feeling joyful, and so grateful to have so many amazing women in my life that are pioneers and trailblazing. And before we start, I want you guys to really connect with us. I want you to share and like this channel, because you know what? We are coming in an amazing time. And the more you share and connect, the more we can expand and really explore how we really elevate not only our lives, but others who might need to hear a message to transform their lives and to really touch base into what might be echoing in their lives. So make sure you share, like, and just be friendly. Okay, so let's jump into this show right now. I have a pleasure to know this wonderful young lady for about 2 years, and Melanie is trailblazing. When I tell you this beautiful being, Gemini energy, when I tell you she is a plethora of information and knowledge and wisdom. And this young lady is trailblazing not only in financial literacy, but in Web3. She's part of Disrupt the Dial. And I'm going to break down some things, some science about this young lady to know. Melanie Brown, this phenomenal, is a financial literacy advocate. She's an investor and a crypto enthusiast who has stood in various initiatives to educate and onboard and understand communities into the digital realm of Web3 and disruptive technologies. As the founder of We Are Mini Masters, Melody is dedicated to empowering children of color through cultural enriching and educational products.
I can't hear
Our
you.
mission is to foster confidence, inspire success in STEM, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy, and create a legacy of impact. She envisions a world where children of color are confident, resourceful, and ready to transform their communities. Welcome to the show, Melanie. Melanie, it's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here with both of you, all beautiful beings as well. Just super excited for all the work that you all are doing, and it's exciting to share and connect with other women in a similar space with aligned visions and passions for how we see the world and our communities. So super excited to be here.
100%. And the first question we like to ask our guests is, what made you invest in Bitcoin?
Got it. So I will say I started my journey in investing in general all started with I knew that I should be investing, didn't really know where to start. Went to YouTube University, set up my first account, and then I met my financial coach at a networking event. She stood up, she was a Black woman. She said, I help Black women build wealth. And I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I had never seen a Black woman. She has locks. I had locks at the time. And I was like, oh, wow, seeing someone that looks like me get up and say this, I'm all about it. My coach had mentioned that she built her wealth through focusing on innovation and technology. And I understood that, to mean, with time, I understood that to mean, being at the forefront of things, to be early in a space. So I pulled from this thinking about in the past where, when you think about rich families and how they built wealth, whether it was like the steel industry or whatever it was, even though I was lacking a lot of knowledge at the time, I did understand that being early was really important. And history had showed us that is how wealth had already been built in this country, being early to a growing industry. And so that's what I understood crypto to be. I wasn't fearful. I was excited actually because I felt like for the first time ever, I would be first to something. And I had never had that experience. And so I was super excited to understand what that meant and what results it would create for me. So my coach, being that that was her space, that ended up being my space. But what took me there and allowed me to stay and grow and want to continue to build in this space was understanding um, the value of being early. Yeah.
100%. I mean, you well said, and we all know the value of being early if we were basically following the trend, right? We are of age, so we understand the trend what happened in 2000 early, right? When we were early, and we were early in Facebook, early in Amazon, early in the .coms, it was life changing for many. For myself, I observed, but I didn't get in. And so when we talk about getting early, those are the things we look at, right? Sometimes we're so early we don't realize or even believe that it's possible, the technology they talk about that's evolving. I think what helps us all, like you just said, it was something intuitive that was like, I'm actually early. And I might not understand exactly what I'm early about, but I need to jump in. And so that's that feminine intuition that led you to where you are today. So let's jump into that early childhood moment when you really understood what is money and how it actually shaped your life, right? Understanding about the perspective of wealth, your early childhood memories.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I thought about this, and I can't think of any specific moment, right? But what do they say? Children are sponges. You learn through observation, right? And so,
Yes.
um, what I learned through observation. So I was raised with my grandmother and with my father, right? And my grandmother, from the South, and I vividly remember, like, the first time I received money as a gift in a card. We were at church, it was my birthday, I got a card, and I was like, "Grandma, where's my money?" And she said, "It's on your back." She said, "It's on your back." And my little brain was like, and I don't know at what point I made the connector, but I eventually understood that to mean I bought you, like, you're fed and clothed, right? Like, you're not on the streets. And
Mm.
so I walked away from my grandmother, through the years with the perception is that money is to feed you and to clothe you. Her being from a Christian background,
Mm.
it also left some, not some of the best, um, the whole idea that like money could be evil, or it's
Mhm.
like almost that we don't need any, like we just need Jesus. And that was, not that
Right.
my grandmother ever directly said this, but this is what I walked away feeling like. Money is evil, it doesn't grow on trees, we don't have a lot of it. When we do have it, you're going to be fed and clothed. And then through observation of my father, and my parents had me super young. My dad was 16. Um, when he had me, and my mom was 18. So, I'm young. I'm watching my dad go out. We're going to dinner. We're going to shows. we taking cabs. And I was like, well, clearly they have money and have a good time. And that's what so I was very confused because they were living a very, very different life. But those were the two messages. That's what was mirrored, to me and
Yes.
in my youth. And so I walked away, not knowing what to do, per se, but just, how they live their life through money.
Mm, that is powerful. It's powerful to see the different ends from your grandma, who we look at grandmas as wisdom, right? And also now seeing your dad from, hey, baby, your clothes and your food. Your dad is like, oh no, we live in luxury. We going traveling, we going eating, we eat dinner, we going cabs. So you saw two extremes, which is actually beautiful because, in a sense, you can bring that in the middle, right? And create this new vision of what money is, this new energy of prosperity for you, right? Which you have, and we'll get deeper into that message as well. But a lot of times, like you said, our experiences mirror on how we see things. So you broke down to that. Now, did you receive an allowance growing up? And if so, how did you manage it?
I have no recollection of having an allowance. But I was thinking about, I remember like getting heroes and sunflower seeds. I mean, I'm telling my age here. Going
Yes.
to get a dollar worth of salami at the bodega. Like, I'm like, where was I getting this money from? I don't know. Now I know I didn't have a lot of it. I can tell you that much. Um, but I have no memory of an allowance. But what I do remember is going to college and having the conversation with my dad about where I wanted to go and how much it cost, and where I could apply to and where I couldn't apply to. And I remember saying to him, I have to keep mentioning my dad is young because it very much formed the type of relationship that I had with him. Meaning, when I'm applying to, I'm like, Dad, what were you doing for the whole 18 years of my life? Why we ain't got no money for school? Why I gotta stay in state? Why I gotta,
Right, right, right.
like, I was upset. You know, I was a huge fan of A Different World, and it had shaped my
Ah,
view of like what college was gonna be like, and I knew I wanted to
you like
go away. And I'm like, why do I have to stay in state? You had 18 years to prepare for this moment. What were you doing?
right. Yes,
Like
exactly.
when I think about my early money memories, like that was some of it. Just like really thinking like, damn, college is expensive, and clearly you need to prepare for it. And I was like, I was mad at my dad that he didn't. So
Right,
I did
right,
go to
right.
school. I did go to school in upstate New York, so I did get a chance to have the away college experience. But those are like my money memories. I cannot remember an allowance at all.
So you being in college, because at the end of the day, our experiences mirror who we are. Our experiences also, when we reflect, we might say I might have been struggling, but those struggles actually is what helps you to ascend, to really expire on who you are, where you are, what you want to be, and what you actually want to do. And also, it's you really reflecting on who am I, whether I
Mhm.
have money or I don't. But Melly has always driven where she wants to go because of her passion and her knowing
Mhm.
within herself, right? And so when we think about that, let's jump in a little more into how Melanie became Melanie and jump into her career. Really getting to become this dedicated visionary of helping community, aspiring. Even though we might reflect, okay, money was taught this way for me in my home. Now, was that also the food that fed you to want to feed into communities, to build financial literacy, to want to get into, hey, this new disruptive technology is transforming lives, this could be it? Like, what got you inspired,
Yeah.
right?
So
And this
what
back
I
to the
was
story, that story is also a blessing.
yeah. So my dad, I would describe him as someone that was just really cared about the well-being of Black folks, like wanted to see us thrive. He really imparted that on me at a really young age. You get down a couple of Black women together, many of us share a similar story of, that self-worth of, that, visually, like, is my hair too kinky? Is my nose too wide? Is my this or that? Like, all of those things, right? We are going against these beauty standards, these direct messages and indirect messages of how we feel about ourselves, right? So that was like very prominent in my home very early, like how I view myself, having black dolls, having my hair natural, um, going to cultural events. That really fed my love for community and culture, learning about my history. And so having that underpinnings, when I met my coach, whose name is Alicia, she is the founder of a community called Journey to Wealth. And so I had, heard about investing prior. I had, heard about the stock market. And I remember even going to a couple of events, right? But I never, I didn't move forward. And it's because I wasn't in community. When I really think about what made the difference for me personally, was being in community, because you can go somewhere and you can get information and you could just go home and execute yourself, because I'm sure someone did. That wasn't me. I needed the additional support of community, because building wealth, being intentional, requires space, to do that. And it's difficult when you are not in that environment. When you're young, if your friends are out partying or not spending money, which is why we have these communities like fire community, right? If you're like, hey, I'm not going out, I'm cooking meals, no Ubers for me, you kind of need to have a group of people that feel the same way that you do, so that when you're saying, I don't want to do these things, your friends are like, come on, girl, you got to have fun. You only live once. Because another community that has a different desire, they're going to say, yeah, girl, because we're willing to do for a year or two what somebody else will do, to create a lifestyle for yourself that you can have forever. So once I got into community, it just, like, everything just hit, like I said, it's really, Black folks thriving is important to me. It's something that I care about, and being in community with Journey to Wealth, what I got a chance to learn is really about the statistics, where we stand. Our white counterparts make 8 times our net worth, despite the amount of income that we are making. We still, aren't building wealth, because we aren't buying assets. First of all, it's various reasons, right? How the country was
Yes,
built. I mean, this could go many ways, but there's many
a
reasons
hundred
why,
percent. Yes.
you know, there's many reasons why our net worth is what it is. But as I expanded my knowledge and got a chance to understand what it required, um, I was just really excited, and it felt doable. That was one of the big things. It felt really doable. I learned it didn't matter if you didn't have a lot of money, right? But it's about being consistent, and even a small amount can support you in building wealth. And the way I like to think about investing, whether it's in crypto or in general, right? Because we know some folks, are hesitant regarding crypto. I think when I think about investing, you have money, even though you might think you don't. Or I should say most people. I don't want to be insensitive to other people's situations, but most people have the money to invest, even though they think they do not. If you sit down and you look at, where your money is going, the ability to redirect something, if you cut out Uber Eats, if you cut out, Uber, if you just look at your subscriptions, if you get your hair done 4 times a month, only get it 2 times a month, and then take that money. So once I've realized, like, how doable it was, um, it just made me excited to be a participant in building this impact. And I'm doing it in various ways. I'm doing it with the community of Journey to Wealth, supporting women in opening crypto accounts. Um, you know, uh, Getting over that hump of fear. Um, Also, I had the amazing opportunity to, my intro into crypto was just like fast and hard. I went to a conference. I didn't even know what they were talking about. The majority of the people there were tech people. everything they were saying was over my head. You know what it felt? It felt like exciting. Like, now I don't mean this in a bad way, cult like, but cult like because the excitement, and people use the word cult like when people are just super excited about something. And I was like, man, I don't know all these words that y'all are using. I don't really understand everything, but I'm down. I'm like, sign me up, you know. And I
I'm
really
drinking the
got
Kool-Aid.
exactly. You know what I mean? Like I was done. Where was my first trip? I was in Rio, in beautiful Brazil. It was hot. People were excited,
Wow.
and I'm just like, yes. So I got into several different communities. I had the beautiful opportunity of um, educating folks on blockchain, supporting women globally to participate in hackathons, creating workshops for hackathon. I worked with Unit Network, which is a blockchain protocol that helps make tokenization simple, getting real world assets on the blockchain. So I got a chance to, I mean, so that was really, really cool because it was such a global community. Um, so I just really got the chance to participate in all these different ways of educating and bringing people into the space. And then my final baby is that I'm looking to also do this with my own brand. We are Mini Masters, which is a kids brand that initially started with the intention of supporting children of feeling good about their self-image with representation and affirmations, but the vision for my brand has expanded. So with my own personal journey into, deeper into financial literacy, deeper into Web3, I'm just like, hey, I got to bring this to my brand. So I have a
And I
3-part financial education book that's coming out for kids 8 to 12, um, STEM coloring books and activity books, and just all things STEM, entrepreneurship, and financial education, because I personally believe that those three pillars can hugely, hugely impact our communities. And I really feel like it starts, with the babies. So, yeah, I
oh,
feel like I jumped all
yes.
over the place just now, but
No, no, it's good because you touch base on so many questions that we wanted to ask, which actually the subcategories within the categories, right? And so we flow. And so within that, I actually want to jump back into kind of like fit into some things you said, just because people like to hear the journey, right? And the process. And so can you just like share a transformative experience that significantly impacted your personal development journey?
yeah, when I think about my very specific journey, I opened the Elvis account. That was the first thing. It was automated, and I was like, cool, I'm in the game. That's it. Then I took a master class where I got a chance to determine my net worth for the first time, and also
I
realize
was part of
where I
that.
was. Whew, now that's
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 something. That's looking yourself in the mirror. I
you
was
know
part of that Journey to Wealth budget.
I had to be like, okay, where you are today does not dictate your future, girl. Like, whoo, you had to keep powering
Right.
through.
And it doesn't dictate your future, but it also doesn't dictate who you are. And I know that even me going through my financial challenges, I'm just like, it doesn't matter because you're so powerful. Like you have to feed yourself, but something that you said that was so important, the power of community, the power of sisterhood. Because when you're going through that and you're amongst people who are in different financial classes, right, income classes, there's something that happens to you automatically, even if you're a strong being that has accomplished many things in her life. And you're reaching the stage of saying, I'm still valuable in spite of the number, right? That you still are more valuable than the currency that you see because you are the currency that flows. But you have to be around powerful beings and women to support you in that notion when you're going through that emotional transformation state. And I know because I went through it with you on that budgeting, and it's powerful to see you still where you are today and still evolving because you had to reflect and look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Every I mean, that was, the beautiful thing that I love about the community and the work that I'm doing is that, as you're alluding to, this is really an inside job, right? Um,
I love it.
Forgiving yourself for past mistakes, forgiving yourself for not knowing sooner, and I'm gonna say for me, forgiving my parents because I was like, what the hell?
Right.
Y'all not gonna teach me nothing, nothing. Y'all just
I
gonna
say
send me out into the world, like
right,
just figure
right.
it out, Yeah, because yeah, that college conversation with my dad, I was really just like, with my grandmother. My grandmother, she had 7 kids. I was like, fine, I get it. You're from another generation. With my dad, I was like, Dad, what's going on? I was upset. I was upset. So yeah, just knowing that it's a journey. And one of the things, which has been a recent thing for me, just remembering that you have to love yourself through the process. Like beating yourself through the process doesn't work. And I really had to be reminded of that. Um, and
Loving yourself
also,
through the process.
yeah, yeah, because
So what are some of the
even,
things that you did? What are some of the things that you did to love yourself through the process? I feel like a lot of people that are listening can really benefit from this, because we are often naturally hard on ourselves, right? As spiritual
yeah,
beings, as women and women of color, because we hold so much of the bag, right? And some of the bag and baggages are not ours.
yeah.
So how did you love yourself through the process?
So, so I, first and foremost, I can be a very logical person, right? If I understand that beating myself up, that it literally doesn't work, right? Like when you think about the
Right.
behind things, right? They're like, oh, if you're, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, like, anyone that's watching this whole experiment of, I've seen all versions of it. You have two seeds, and you're saying nice things to one of them, you're affirming it, and it
Yes.
grows, and then you're saying something negative to the other one. So
Yes. Yes.
just the base level knowledge of like it literally doesn't work, right? So for me, that's
Energy.
a first
Right.
standing step, just to really know that it doesn't work. So why do it, right? But then after the knowing, what does it look like in action? It looks like journaling, saying, I forgive myself. I forgive myself for all of the things, past and present, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the idea of knowing that you want to do better doesn't equate to immediately doing better. You have
Oh my
all these
God.
years.
Can we talk on that part? Instant gratification?
You have all these years of whatever messaging and bad habits that you've built up, right? So it's a constant and real journey for me to remember what I say I want, right? Like what I say I really,
Mm.
really want, um, and leaning into that. Really focusing on gratitude, because I do genuinely believe that, focusing on abundance brings abundance. And so that reminder that what my bank account says today doesn't equate, but I'm rich now. I'm rich in all the
Yes.
ways. Abundance is around me in so many forms, whether it's in the trees, the beautiful music outside, the abundance of
Right.
people that I see. If I'm, I'm in a comfortable bed, I have the abundance of comfort. Just really, really leaning into. So this is something that I'm practicing in real time now as I'm, working to build tangible wealth that is in hand, right? So it's like you have to see yourself as having it now in all of its forms, so that so that it can shorten that path from what is to, what you say that you want. So like I have abundance in all of the ways while I continue to release debt and increase my assets, so just
Oh, and
recognizing, yeah.
yeah, you definitely touched the base on so many things. And with that being said, from a woman who experienced many things and how you've gone to, you're in this state and level of growth, self awareness, um, inner love, right? Self-love. And how do you approach like goal setting, and how do you stay accountable, because you are achieving a lot of goals, not only your own inner self-worth discovery, but you're also the CEO of a major company and reaching out to communities, to children, to advance, and you're also part of investing in investing community. How do you stay above water, right, in
Yeah.
this complex world that we're living in?
Yeah. So, time management is something that I'm always working on. I want to say the last 4 years of my life, they have been so fun, but also overwhelming, which it just is, right? Like once I got into this space, because it's so intoxicating, and you could just go, 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 go on fumes until you burn yourself out. And so pausing is something, again, that I'm working on in real time. That ability to, you know, pause weekly, um, to make sure that I'm still doing the things that are important to me, making sure that I'm saying yes to things that truly align with my larger vision.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
those pauses are really, really important to kind of decide, you know, how I'm spending my time and making sure that it's making sense, because you can't do all the things at one time, right? You can do all the things,
Oh
but
my
sometimes
God. Yep.
say
Yep.
this is a priority now. I'm moving on to this later. I'm going to pick this up, later on in the year. So I love goal setting by each quarter.
Okay.
Um, I that kind of helps, like, each quarter is 13 weeks. That feels far more manageable and in touch than like making a goal in
Mm-hmm.
January that you complete before December, because you lose focus in between, that time. But when you make, like, milestone quarterly goals, I love that. That keeps me more grounded and in tune, and they feel closer to my reach. But creating goals by quarter, being in community, and having someone to support me with accountability are some of the ways that I work to manage these interests and these things that I'm, because being financially literate, understanding crypto, being excited about your net worth, looking at, um, continuously being abreast of like what's going on and where opportunities are, improving my skill sets, learning AI, like all this stuff is time consuming, right? Like it takes time to do these things.
And because you're such in the technical area, and your growth and your experience in your business, this is perfect. How do you embrace challenges, right? And how do you learn to grow outside of your comfort zone, right? Because you stepped in already with a challenge. Tech wasn't your thing, out of comfort zone, and it allowed you to be where you are today. So how do you embrace those challenges? How do you embrace stepping out of your comfort zone to level
Yeah.
up?
um Releasing the frustration when I have it, because I can assure you there have been many a moments where I just want to pick up the laptop, just throw it up against the wall. Just straight transparency. Whether it's working on my business, whether it's working on crypto, many, many moments of wanting to throw the computer against the wall, right? But the
Right.
beautiful thing is, once you overcome an obstacle, you have proof that you can.
Mm,
And that
mm-mm.
reminds me that everything is figure outable. So, you know, I don't know, like, I feel like that, I don't know when that word became popular, but I know that I've always loved it. I was like, figure outable. Yeah, yeah. And so I just, whether that looks like me figuring it out or me contacting someone else who can help me figure it out, being resourceful to make
Yes.
it to the
Yes.
other side. So, yeah, I release the frustration, I ground myself, and I give it a go. And if it's not happening that day, whatever said challenges, I might have to pause if I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall and I'm just not, in a good space. sometimes I just have to pause and come back.
This is perfect because we're talking about challenges. We're talking about being a woman of color who's trailblazing, who's in Web3, financial literacy with the children, right? So, with that being said, can you discuss any of the challenges that you might have faced as a woman in this male-dominant industry?
Ooh, yeah.
I know I have. That's why I'm like,
you know, so the funny thing about Web3, it's so interesting, right? So it's a whole it's a whole world in and of itself, right? It talks about the promise of an equitable future, right? Forget the middleman. Anybody can do this. You know, if you have I mean, obviously you need, internet and Wi-Fi, but like you have that, and you can get into this space. But even with that, um, I think I've had some experiences of dealing with men who somehow think because we are in Web3 that racism and sexism is gone, right? That like, no,
right,
this Web3 bubble, this is about an equitable future. And I'm like,
right,
sir, yes, but you didn't
right.
just like you didn't step from your previous role into Web3 and all those other things just disappear. You're mansplaining me right now, okay? And I don't like it.
Right, right,
or
right.
whatever or whatever the thing is. You know what I mean? So I'll just say overall my experience has been that in the space, the idea of thinking because this conversation and this promise of an equitable future, sometimes people don't recognize when we're still having the same um, issues that were very apparent in traditional work environments. They don't just disappear, and we have to acknowledge them and work through them as people are working together, so they don't just disappear. So I feel like overall that has been my experience of Web3, just people not recognizing when these same isms are happening in this space because they think that we're in like this Web3 equitable world bubble, and like all of those things don't exist anymore.
I mean, women in our nature in itself, we're pioneers. We're birthers. Our intuitiveness helps us advance in many places in this particular industry. Even when you think about trading, right? And they say better women trade better than men, right? Even the tech aspect, you have more women getting into the AI. I was looking at a video about AI prompting engineering and how many women are getting involved in that, even in software. So I think it's more so those women who are like you and myself who like challenges and like, you know what, I'm going to show myself that I'm capable and I can do this because I want change. When I got into the industry, the same thing. It was something that sparked because I knew I needed something different and new. But in order for me to forget it, I had to be part of the meetups, and all the meetups were in the city with predominantly white men, predominantly Indian men, predominantly Jewish men. And I was like, all right, so we're gonna learn this language, and I'm gonna share it with the community, and we're gonna build something. If something has to spark within you as a being who want to do something new, that like you said, it's not comfortable. It's a challenge, but you're like, you know what? I'm ready for the challenge. That's who we are as women. We are ready for the challenge because we get things thrown us 100% all the time, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah, I want to add something else. You brought up something, a really good point. Go into these events. I mean, you can you can know that it might be you and one other person of color in the room, and you can hope that you'll see another woman. You really just have to decide that it doesn't matter. Like you just have to
A hundred
decide,
percent.
you know, because it is uncomfortable. It is. And I have been in so many rooms, in so many spaces where it is just a sea of white and Indian men. And I'm just like, all right, this is different. This is, this is different. And, I just move through the room and communicate like I would in any other space. I do
A
an
hundred
inhale and an
percent.
exhale, and I'm like, "You got it, boo," and I just go in.
Yep.
You know what I
With, with,
mean?
with
And
confidence.
yeah,
With
and when it
confidence.
when it comes down to it, once you start communicating with people, like people are excited to share with other people. People are excited to share, their ideas. And I have. This was a really beautiful experience, right? So I was I was in Portugal at a blockchain event, and it's like you had to have like a ticket or something to get like pizza, right? It was nice pizza. It was like pizza they were making, homemade right there. And I had a ticket, but the person was giving me an issue, acting like it wasn't the right ticket. And I'm like, dude, what does it matter? Just give me a slice of pizza. Like we had already left one event. We was at the second event. I'm starving. This person was just giving me such a hard time at the booth. And I thought it was weird, right? And I don't particularly think they were giving me a hard time for any reason. I think, they were just being a rule follower, right? And this white man came over and was like, what does she need? And he gave me his ticket. And I was like, thank you for advocating for me. And so
Right, right,
I've also
right.
had experiences of what it looks like for someone to advocate to me. And I know this can seem so small, just like a slice of pizza, but I was about to walk away with no food, at this event because the person was telling me I need some other ticket and I wasn't on the list and what day that I registered. I'm like, sir, I can show you on my end, but if it's not showing up on your end, I don't know what to tell you. You just have to make a decision if you want to give me this or not. And I'm saying, what is the big deal, And so that felt
Right.
really good to be, advocated for. And so there are also, men in the space who have an ear out for those things, and then use their privilege, in small ways and in big ways. Because, obviously that was a small way, but also in big ways it happened. So I did just want to, mention that. Because that made me feel seen. It made me feel valued. And it made me feel like someone wanted to see me there.
It's the human connect,
Yeah,
right? It's the human connect, the human experience. It wasn't even about colorism at that point. It was just like, I see her. There is obviously a challenge, and let me support her in this particular situation. And that is something that we need to see more of, the human
yeah,
experience, right? Treating
yeah,
others like you want to be treated, and just being present in the moment. And I'm glad that you shared that, because we need more of that in the world, to be honest, right? It's not about colorism. It's not about classification. It's not about the gender. It's just like humanism, human kindness, right? It'll take us
100%.
further as we are batting AI. That's a whole nother sector where you dehumanizing a whole world. But we're not saying be afraid of it. We're saying integrate and let's connect, right? Let's
100%.
empower ourselves by integrating, right, and advancing ourselves. I'm glad you shared that, and I want to touch on something that I feel that the audience can definitely relate to, but allow them to also grow. Can you share like a very exciting project or initiative that you are currently working on?
Sure. I'll share about my 3-part book series, which I'm super excited about. So I'm a older millennial, right? And I feel like as an older millennial, we're in a space of, so I feel like our parents' generation was, we're here, it's just survival. The older millennials, we did the traditional route, the school, the this, the that, and now our side hustles are often our true passions, right? And then like the younger generation is like, nah, I'm starting with what I want from the very beginning. Like, I deserve it all yesterday.
Exactly. Right.
and
Right.
I and I
Yep.
and I love that. I love that about them. And so thinking about, how things are, for young people and how they're coming into the world with just more access to things. I get really excited about that. And so what I'm creating and working on for We Are Many Masters is this really incredible book that um, it's it's a 3-part series. The first book is Understanding Money, really understanding, the genesis of it, and obviously in a way that's appropriate and received for youth. Understanding money, how it started, using it as a tool. The second book is Managing Money, and that looks like understanding debt, and how it's cancerous and can really, we're from the era college, and you get a T-shirt and a bag of M&Ms to sign up for your free. Can you hear
I
me?
can't hear you.
Can you hear me
Speak
now?
now. Yes,
You can hear
yes.
me?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're from that generation of getting our first credit cards because somebody gave us a bag of M&Ms and M's and a free T-shirt on the college campus, right? And so we don't want our youth. I don't think they're doing that stuff anymore anyway, but we don't want our youth to experience that. So managing money, really understanding debt and credit usage. And then the third part of the series is how to grow your money. And the beautiful, what does it look like to start investing young? To start investing young, to help parents to open an account. And what a lot of people don't know, a kid can have a Roth IRA as long as it's earned income. You can have a Roth IRA really early on, and imagine your kid at 18, they have this, whether it's to go to school, whether it's to start a business or get a real estate, property. Like, what could life look like if that's what we're doing for our children? So I'm really excited. It's slated for early fall. We'll see if I can get it out earlier than that, but that's my current project that I'm working on, a 3-part financial education book series.
Can
Um,
you just touch base because I want to go deeper. Can you just
mhm.
really share why it is so important for our children of color to really hone on in STEM and financial literacy? Because there's a reason why you're tackling this and you're doing a 3-tier. We need to
Yeah,
dig deeper.
I thought about, like, as I said, so I had this business, I had this brand before my journey, right? But after I took my own journey into Web3, once I really got a chance to understand more about where the world was going, Black people are over saturated into service-based businesses. As we know, tech is near, tech is here. Um, you know, to We have to upskill. We have to upskill. Like, this isn't even like an option. I like AI, don't like AI. It's not an option. Like, we have to upskill. So there's all these statistics about where we stand in the job market in regard to tech. Where we're in, like, not, I think, like 3%, we're at a very low percentage, but a lot of that, when you think about other communities getting into tech, these things start really young. It starts really
Yes,
young because
they come from other countries to learn tech to the
it
United
starts
States to get educated.
it starts young because there's so many the challenges for us that it's that even when we do get into the space, because there are pipeline programs that support more Black people or more women getting into tech, but then they don't have the support, right? Because you're in a space that doesn't look like you, that's new, that's all of these things, and so you also need the support and the mentorship to help you, right? But so the sooner we can get our children exposed to this information, to seeing themselves in this space, right? To see ourselves, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's beautiful that we know that we are excellent entertainers, to know that we are excellent, athletes. I was there is a documentary on Netflix called Sprint, right? And it's incredible. And so I'm looking at all these Jamaican women, like, they've been holding the gold
I
medal for
watched it. Inspiring. Had me in tears. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I watched it. We
it's
are phenomenal beings. We just have to know it. We are Shakari Richardson, Elaine Noel, I think his name is.
like, all, like, just
Go ahead,
the,
sis.
no, it's
Phenomenal.
okay.
Go ahead.
The reason that I brought it up is that I saw someone once say, it was a non-Jamaican person. They said, well, we already know the Jamaicans are going to win. Like, well, I don't even know why we try, right? And I'm sure part of the reason that they continue to excel year after year after year is, like, you start to believe it. Once you see yourself over and over and over again, once you see Jamaica, gold, bronze, silver, like over and over and over again, it's like, this is what we do. This is what we do. Like that audacity, we need to get some of that, because we talk about our counterparts having a lot of it, but as people, as a community, we need to have some of that, because what that audacity brings is, I'm supposed to be here. It's a reminder, this is my birthright. Investing, hell yeah, that's what I do. Like, I belong here, even if some, and so the more that we see examples that this is our birthright. We are good at this. We do belong here. This is attainable. This is attainable no matter where you are today. So I just think it's really, really important. And so it's so vital that we are positioning our youth to be in a better place to um
100%.
to compete, if you will, right? Because I mean, essentially, that's what you're doing in the world. I don't want to say compete. We want to position them to thrive, to prosper, to have the
Yes.
tools and
Yes.
resources to
Yes.
create what they want. And so, being in STEM is just so important, because we're going to have we're going to have changes that we don't even know. And the statistics say the job market for our youth, we don't even know what it's going to be. Like, whatever jobs that they're going to need, we don't even know. They don't even exist yet. Like, the world is rapidly
Right.
changing.
Right.
And so the sooner that our youth are aware of, and I chose the name We Are Mini Masters with intention, because we are masters. We are masters. This
Yes.
is for youth, but as soon as our youth know that they are the master of whatever they desire, and I just feel like these tools are super important, right? Knowing how to invest. I kind of think of myself, like, when I think about investing, like, you feel like a magician. Like, I get to put this thing, especially if you trade too, right? It's like I get to participate in this system that contributes to my wealth. So the more that we have access to these tools, it just positions us, it puts us in a position to solve some of our own problems, right? I think that we we meaning anybody, honestly, can sometimes think that only celebrities have the issue, right? But the power of community, the more folks that have access, to capital, you can build the solution for your community. You don't have to look on to others to do that. So, my vision is to equip the youth with these really powerful tools of financial education, of investing, the exposure to STEM, the exposure to entrepreneurship, so that you have options to build and thrive in any of the ways that you see fit.
I could speak to you all day, and I know the world is enjoying what we're echoing today. But before we wrap up, I want to ask you, what do you want to echo to the audience today, to the world that is listening?
What do I want to echo? I'll say a couple of things. To anyone that's not in the game, and by the game, I mean being a true steward of your finances. Um, is that it's possible no matter where you are, and the feeling that you feel once you get over the hump of, damn, you know, if that is your situation, because that's not true for everybody, right? Some folks, it's not true for everybody, but for anyone that the idea is scary, just know that empowerment is on the other side of that. It is such an amazing
Mm.
feeling to look, understand, be able to assess, and then make decisions to create something else. And that's what you get to receive once you're in the game. Yeah. I
So
was probably
how can the audience, yeah, it's beautiful. How can the audience, the world find you, Melanie?
um on social media. I just changed, you guys inspired me. I just changed my name literally right before I got on here.
I love
So
it. This is what
on
we
Instagram,
do.
my my Instagram is now Musings with Mellow, and that will lead to any other thing that I'm working on, right? So that leads to we are mini masters, my children's brand, and just for I'm not a mother, I'm a certified auntie and working on a bigger auntie status, and so when I think about the youth, this is for all of us. This is for parents. This is for grandmas. These are for aunties, godparents. We all are, we're all parenting our youth. We all get to leave a mark on young people in the world and to kind of, help them avoid some of the things that we encountered, by sharing our knowledge and wisdom. So musings at Melanie is my Instagram. And if you are a person that is excited and cares for the youth, please follow my We Are Mini Masters Instagram, and stay tuned for the 3-part book series that will be released soon. I'm gonna say early fall to give myself some some room for life challenges that that happen. So yeah.
Listen, we're not even going to echo that into the universe. Stay tuned for Melanie's Mini Masters. Um, this has been a definitely phenomenal segment because it's really about transformation. It's really about believing in yourself, understanding how important it is to dig in to understanding that even though you might can't see it, just know intuitively life is changing around you. And it's really important to kind of jump in so you can forge a future and also sustain that legacy that you want to create. Community, community, community is so important. Melanie said it so many times. You are not alone. You are not alone. You're not alone. So continue to echo your truth into the world. Stay tuned for us next Sunday at 12 noon for our guest host that's coming up. And make sure to follow us and like us and love us and share with the world so we continue to echo in your hearts of the transformation of women in our life, in the world, who are investing, who are into AI, who are tech, who are mothering the world and advancing and birthing new beginnings, who are healing. And we can go on and on and on. But if you continue to share with us, we continue to expand the world around us and make it the lovely universe that is meant to be. So make sure you echo love into your life. And thank you. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
bkcryptocoaching.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you
our
for
guest
having
host
me.
is in Paris. So she got cut off with Wi-Fi. But guess what? We stayed alive. So thank you. Love you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, beautiful.